What if the rudest millionaire in town met the one waitress who wasn't afraid of him? Every customer in the cafe watched in silence as he insulted the staff and treated everyone with disrespect. But when a brave new waitress finally stood up to him, something completely unexpected happened. One moment of courage changed both of their lives forever. Before we begin, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss another inspiring story. Now grab your favorite drink, sit back, relax, and asterisk, let's get started. Asterisk, the rain had been falling over downtown Seattle since dawn, coating the streets in a silver glow and sending people hurrying into the warm cafes that lined the sidewalks. Inside Harbor Bean Cafe, the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee mixed with the sound of quiet conversations and soft jazz. It was usually a peaceful place where office workers, college students, and tourists escaped the city's endless drizzle. But every weekday at exactly 8 a.m., that peaceful atmosphere disappeared. The moment the glass door opened, conversations faded, smiles vanished, and every employee instinctively looked toward the entrance. Ethan Blackwood had arrived at the... Ethan was one of Seattle's youngest self-made millionaires. As the founder of a booming real estate investment company, his face often appeared in business magazines alongside headlines praising his success. He drove a black luxury sedan, wore custom-tailored Italian suits, and carried himself with the confidence of a man who believed money could solve every problem. Unfortunately, it had also convinced him that everyone around him existed to serve him. To most people, Ethan's wealth was admirable. To the staff at Harbor Bean Cafe, it was a warning. Every morning he ordered the same breakfast: a black coffee, butter, croissant, and fresh fruit, but somehow something was always wrong. The coffee is too hot. The croissant is too cold. This chair is uncomfortable. Why is the music so loud? His complaints never ended. Some days he criticized the food. Other days he insulted the service. If someone apologized, he called them incompetent. If someone tried to explain, he accused them of making excuses. Over the past year, 5 different waiters had quit after serving him. One young college student had even burst into tears after Ethan loudly mocked him for spilling a few drops of coffee while refilling his cup. The regular customers had seen it happen so many times that they simply looked away whenever Ethan entered. Nobody wanted to become his next target. Behind the counter stood Margaret Collins, the 62-year-old owner of Harbor Bean Cafe. She had built the cafe from nothing after losing her husband years earlier, treating every employee like family, normally cheerful and welcoming. Even she grew tense whenever Ethan arrived. She often wondered why she tolerated him. The answer was simple. He was one of her biggest customers, often bringing wealthy business associates who spent hundreds of dollars during meetings. Losing his business could seriously hurt the small cafe's finances, so she swallowed her pride and hoped each visit would end without another scene. That Monday morning began differently. Café had hired a new waitress. Emily Carter stepped through the employee entrance wearing a neatly pressed uniform and a nervous but genuine smile. At 26, she wasn't new to hard work. Life had forced her to grow up quickly. Just 8 months earlier, she had lost her mother after a long battle with cancer. The medical bills had drained nearly every dollar the family had saved. After the funeral, Emily sold the small apartment they had shared in Portland and moved to Seattle, where she hoped better job opportunities would help her rebuild their lives. Her biggest reason for working wasn't herself, it was her younger brother, Noah, a gifted engineering student whose dream was to graduate without abandoning college because of financial problems. Emily had promised their mother she would help him finish school, no matter what it cost. That promise became the reason she accepted double shifts, skipped vacations, and rarely spent money on herself. When Mrs. Collins interviewed her, she immediately noticed something unusual. Emily never complained. She simply smiled, listened carefully, and thanked everyone who helped her. By her first morning, the entire staff already liked her. As Emily tied on her apron, another waitress named Sarah quietly pulled her aside. "I should warn you," Sarah whispered. "If a man named Ethan Blackwood walks in, stay away if you can." Emily raised an eyebrow. "What?" Sarah sighed. "Because nothing is ever good enough for him." Before Emily could ask another question, the bell above the cafe door chimed. Every employee turned toward the entrance. A tall man wearing a charcoal gray suit stepped inside without acknowledging anyone. Raindrops slid from his expensive overcoat as he removed his leather gloves with slow, deliberate movements. It was Ethan. The room seemed to lose its warmth. Mrs. Collins immediately walked toward Emily. "I'll serve him," she said quietly. "It's your first day. You don't need to deal with this." Emily glanced across the room at the businessman, who was already inspecting his usual table with visible annoyance. She smiled gently. "It's okay." Mrs. Collins frowned. "You don't understand." "Maybe not," Emily replied, "but he's still a customer." Before anyone could stop her, Emily picked up a menu and walked confidently toward Ethan. "Good morning, sir," she said warmly. "Welcome to Harbor Bean Cafe. My name is Emily, and I'll be taking care of you today." Ethan didn't return the smile. Instead, his eyes scanned the table. You call this clean? Emily looked carefully. The polished wooden surface appeared spotless. I'm sorry if there's something I missed. There is. Without another word, she grabbed a clean cloth and wiped the table carefully from corner to corner. There, she said politely. Is that better? Ethan ran a single finger across the surface. He looked at the cloth, still dirty. Emily quietly wiped the table a second time. The nearby customers watched. Nervously, even Sarah stopped preparing drinks, expecting Ethan's usual explosion. When Emily finished, Ethan leaned back. Fine. He closed the menu without reading it. Black coffee, fresh butter croissant, and don't make me wait. Of course, sir. Emily delivered the order to the kitchen, where everyone rushed to prepare it perfectly. Less than 5 minutes later, she returned, carrying a steaming cup of coffee and a warm croissant arranged neatly on a white plate. She gently placed everything in front of him. Enjoy your breakfast. For a brief second, the cafe felt hopeful. Maybe today would be different. Ethan lifted the coffee cup, took one slow sip, and stared silently into it. Then he placed the cup back onto the table with deliberate precision. His expression hardened. This, he said loudly enough for everyone to hear, is the worst coffee I've tasted all year. Every conversation in the cafe stopped. Emily remained calm. I'm sorry you don't like it, sir. I'd be happy to make you a fresh cup. Instead of answering, Ethan slowly pushed the cup across the table. The ceramic scraped against the wood. Closer until it reached the very edge. Then, without breaking eye contact with Emily, he gave it one final push. The cup crashed onto the floor, shattering into dozens of pieces as hot coffee splashed across the polished tiles. A loud gasp echoed through the cafe. No one moved. The staff stared in disbelief. Several customers lowered their eyes, expecting Emily to apologize like every employee before her. But Emily didn't flinch. She looked at the broken cup, took a slow breath, met Ethan Blackwood's eyes, and prepared to say something no one in Harbor Bean Cafe had ever dared say before. He'd spent in a lifetime. He almost always ate alone. Success had made him wealthy. It hadn't made him happy. He reached into his pocket and placed an envelope on the table. Emily frowned. What's this? A check. She didn't touch it. For what? The broken cup. Emily smiled. It wasn't worth that much. It isn't about the cup. She slowly opened the envelope. Inside was a check for $50,000. Her eyes widened. I can't accept this. You can. No. I can't. Ethan nodded toward Mrs. Collins, who was serving customers behind the counter. Then don't keep it. Emily looked confused. Use it to renovate the cafe. Replace the old equipment. Give the staff a bonus. Do whatever helps this place continue serving people. Mrs. Collins overheard the conversation and nearly dropped the coffee pot she was holding. She walked over cautiously. Mr. Blackwood, this is far too generous. He smiled an expression no one in the cafe had ever seen before. No, he glanced around the room. It's long overdue. Word spread quickly through the neighborhood. People didn't just hear about the millionaire who donated money to a struggling cafe. They heard about the waitress who had changed him, without shouting, insulting, or humiliating him. Over the following months, Ethan became one of Harbor Bean Cafe's most loyal customers. He greeted every employee by name. He tipped generously when someone made a mistake. He smiled and said, "Don't worry, we all have difficult days." His own employees soon noticed the difference. Boardroom meetings became calmer. Workers who had once feared him found themselves sharing ideas without hesitation. Productivity improved. Employee turnover dropped, and the company developed a reputation not only for success but also for treating people with dignity. One afternoon, Ethan stood beside the large front window of the cafe, watching customers laugh over coffee. I used to think respect came from money, he admitted. Emily placed a fresh cup of coffee in front of him, and now, he smiled warmly. I've learned that money can buy attention, comfort, and influence, but it can never buy genuine respect. That has to be earned, one choice at a time. Emily nodded. And sometimes, she said, all it takes to change someone's life is the courage to